Hello, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Misclick Podcast.
Woo! Number 7.
Yay!
Number 7, mate.
Yeah.
We are back, we're finally here, and we finally have time to do this thing.
It has been 84 years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're very sorry for the accidental hiatus we kind of went on. But it's been hard juggling with full-time job and internship and birthdays and sickness and tattoos and changes in daylight savings.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a clusterfuck, honestly.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, life has been life, as it usually is, but against all the odds, we are still fighting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I am Cosmironic, and alongside me I have Icewire and KrakkaCafe.
No.
Yeah, we bring you discussions and news about video games, content creation, and everything in between, but mostly that. So, to start everything off, as we usually do, we like to talk about what we have been playing recently. And we might just get it out of the way first, so things get more interesting afterwards. Let's talk about Overwatch, as we usually do. So yeah, I know I've been playing it a lot, and I know Ice has too, and you have some very strong opinions about the new Mercy changes.
Yeah, I do. I don't know, I think it's kind of pointless just changing her res countdown from 10 to 30 when she uses Valkyrie. I just think that's stupid.
I mean, I love the new thing, her new ultimate and everything. She's a lot more fun to play now. But not having her ultimate reduce the countdown, the timer on her resurrection, that ruins a lot of that, honestly.
Yeah, it's like you just get used to like this brand new play style and having to readjust, and then you have to adjust again, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Because you felt so valuable that you could just rest someone, pop your ultimate, and then see, oh, I can rest another one now. So that whole tempo resting was pretty damn fun, but we'll see where it ends. I mean, they're just trying to tweak it a bit because, I mean, I think, it's a fine balance they have to walk between being overpowered and being fun to play and all that kind of stuff.
Well, mind you, it is in PTR, so not everything that's in a PTR always goes live, so fingers crossed.
Well, that's true. Let's hope that they will keep that, or just, instead of just removing it completely, just not as big or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. And the new Halloween event is coming soon too.
Oh yeah, they leaked this. They leaked a few skins, didn't they?
Yeah, I saw that.
There's a Cthulhu Zenyatta that actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that looks too good to be true.
Oh, right? Like, I hate Zenyatta. I find him annoying to go up against, but that looks cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would actually get me to play more Zenyatta. But the one for Symmetra looks just...
That is so
gay.
cool. That is so cool. It's been a while since she had, like, a very cool skin.
Yeah. I mean, the one from the anniversary event was okay, but I like this. I hope this one's legit.
Yeah.
I will die and go to heaven. You will hear me screaming from Denmark, America, Australia, wherever.
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to get a chance to get the Mercy Witch skin.
Same. I missed out on that because I started playing Overwatch in January, February? I think it was February.
Yeah. I mean, I started playing in December or so. But mind you, it was at my very slow PC where I could hardly play it decently. So I didn't play it that much, but now that I have a much better computer, I'm really diving into it. But that just means I missed some cool events.
Yeah. Well, at least they repeat themselves, so that's nice.
Yeah. But I also hope that they will add something to the new Mercy and the new voice line, because I mean, when someone was having the witch skin and she would res people, she would say, "My servants never die," and I thought that was cool.
I know because I got the Valkyrie skin for Mercy.
Yeah.
She still says till Valhalla when you read her.
But what does she say when you use your ultimate?
I think she just says, "I will watch over you" or something in Swiss.
Yeah, that's the main line now. But what I'm really hoping for is that they would just, with the witch skin, when she uses her ultimate, just have like a witch laugh or screech or something. That would be so cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Because I know I want something like that for McCree. Because
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to say it's a full moon.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
high
wanted to
moon,
say it.
even though it doesn't make sense.
I want full moon.
So yeah, other than Overwatch, what have you been playing?
Aside from Overwatch, I have been playing The Sims 4, as you could probably tell.
Yes.
The amount of shit on my channel right now.
Yeah, you've really made a lot of The Sims 4 content recently.
I don't know. I kind of fell out of it because, like, a few years back because, well, one, my computer was, like, playing up at the time. And two, just because, I don't know, they didn't have much at the time. Because when I first started playing it, there was no expansions or anything.
Yeah.
So now that, like, they're bringing out, like, vampires and cats and dogs, it made it a lot more interesting. So it's, I don't know, I'm just really hyped to play it again.
It's been years since I've played The Sims of any kind.
Honestly, same for me. Before I started playing again, I think the last time I played The Sims was probably like 3 years ago or something.
Huh.
Maybe 4. I can't quite remember. But now I have like overall, including what I played before my like very, very first PC died, I have like 237 hours logged in The Sims 4.
Damn.
Yeah. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I really like the game.
Evidently.
I definitely say you do.
Just a little. But yeah, so I've been playing that lately, and I just got like this new expansion for it. I think it's The Sims 4 Vampires. And
Oh yeah.
it adds so much crap to the gameplay. It's like, they don't make it just like, oh, you gotta stay inside and stuff. They actually add like cool elements like vampire fights and shit, and like all these powers, and like they can levitate in the air when they fight, and it's like really badass to watch.
Cool.
Yeah, as soon as because I'd never played it before or seen any gameplay for it, so as soon as I saw it, it was just like, holy shit.
Sims certainly has changed a lot.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm not even gonna go into the mods. I'm not even gonna go there. 'Cause it's
Like I played a lot of like the original Sims and maybe a little bit of The Sims 2, but it sounds like it's drastically changed from
Yeah.
those.
I mean, nowadays you can like choose how big you want your butt to be just by like clicking and like just dragging it
Well,
out.
that's every game nowadays. Come on now.
True fact. But I like it. I like the option. You can also make them like terrifying as hell. Like you can make someone go from looking like Nicki Minaj to Dobby in like 5 seconds.
Nice. If that's your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see them living in a house together. That's such a weird mashup.
Nicki Minaj and Dobby. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Nice.
Way too much of, as you can tell.
Yeah, I haven't played The Sims really since the first one. I mean, I have Sims 3 and I've booted it up occasionally, but sitting down and really playing a Sims game, that's only the first one, and that is such a long time ago.
Jeez, I can't remember how old I was when I first played like the original Sims. I would have been 4, 5. Can't quite remember.
You're playing The Sims at that young?
Yeah, my sister had it, so I would use the computer and play her games. So
Gotta love siblings.
yeah.
So, what have you been playing, Krakka?
Well, it's gonna feel like you've heard this before, but I promise you probably haven't. It's just deja vu. But recently, Danganronpa actually finished their 3rd iteration of their game series, so I've been playing a fair amount of that, along with the stuff that I usually play. But like that's been like the most notable thing, I guess, because I usually like to play around a bit. But I could wax poetic about Phoenix Wright versus Professor Layton for a long time too, because I've been playing that on my streams now, because we've moved on to that now, which is a super fantastic spin-off, but I feel like I'll probably get to kind of wax poetic about it later anyway. So
It's pretty funny because I remember from the first episode of our podcast you were playing Phoenix Wright, and here we are months later and you're still playing like Ace Attorney. So I'm just thinking there are a lot of Ace Attorney games, come to think of it.
yeah, there's a surprising amount of them, and well, part of the reason it's been stretched out for so long for me is because typically I'd only play it on like Friday or Saturday. And I'd usually go at it for sometimes somewhere around 4 to 8 hours, sometimes longer.
Holy
On
crap.
like one thing I didn't even know about, I didn't even realize until we actually like streamed it. And I say we, I'm talking about my viewers, but like the DLC for Dual Destinies, like I sat down and was gonna do that all in one sitting because I figured it was it's just one case typically. One case you can really sit down and usually bang out in about 8 hours or less. It's not unusual to be able to do that. But that DLC case, man, I was in it for 8 hours and we were still not done with it. So
Wow, that's a lot of
Bloody
content.
Nora.
yeah, I had to spend part of Saturday going to the tail end of that, because it was like, I think it ended up totaling out like closer to 10 hours. I think it was just like a couple hours shy from being finished. But I mean, I want to say I play maybe a little bit slower because I'm streaming, but usually I read at pace with a dialogue. Like I usually don't read any slower. Sometimes I'll go off topic and stuff like that. So maybe contribute an hour or two to going off topic, but still, to pay a couple bucks for a little extra episode. And I think the DLC for iOS was like either $2 or $3. I don't remember. It wasn't too much. Just to get a good 8-10 hours out of it's not bad for a couple dollars. So
Wow, nice.
because I've spent a couple dollars on way worse things in my life, so I consider it a win.
Yeah, that's definitely DLC done right.
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely. That's kind of the valued one of it, and it's supposed, since it is DLC, it is extra. It doesn't really, it's not part of the story. It's just like a totally separate episode that's kind of neat to be able to see, and it's got a few anime cutscenes and stuff in it, and stuff. So it's pretty neat. It's as DLC should be, not integral to the story, and not overly expensive or other the silly reasons people make DLC. So, yeah, what I've been playing, streams aside, would be Danganronpa V3, which is a slightly, they've called the first ones 1, 2, and this one they've just called V3. I don't know why. They just added the V for cool factor, or maybe has some kind of bearing on the actual story. I have no idea yet.
Yeah.
It's I'll try to like summarize it like the best way I can. It's basically a bunch of high schoolers trapped in a school against their will, who then have to kill each other until one is left, and then that one gets to graduate and be free to live in the world.
So it's kind of like Battle Royale, but in high school.
Yeah, and like most of the time, I would say like the characters don't really want to kill each other, but their headmaster / the person who's making them do this is a robotic bear named Monokuma, who forces them to do this stuff by either giving them an incentive or an unincentive to do it. Incentives being like there's a time where he busted out a cart that had an envelope for every person there, and each of those envelopes had a very deep, dark secret that they all held, and they were free to take them as they wish. And there was, of course, fighting and problems over that, and I think somebody died as a result of that one. But it's pretty violent. It's kind of like Phoenix Wright. If Phoenix Wright suddenly got significant more violent and sad at the same time, because Phoenix Wright doesn't really get too depressing. You know, there's some sad stuff, but it doesn't get dark. Like this gets real dark with some of the stuff, and
I can imagine.
It's the blood is, and the art style is very interesting. The blood's always kind of a purple color, which I guess maybe helps desensitize the people who maybe are squeamish when they see the color of blood being red color.
Yeah,
So
I think I just remember seeing like a little bit of like gameplay of it, and I do remember seeing purple-ish blood.
yeah, it's it kind of works in phases, almost kind of like Phoenix Wright as well, where you're wandering around, you're talking to people, then it's usually somebody ends up dead, and then you end up investigating in some way or another, and then after that you go into like a court type battle, except it's more of like some kind of weird group jury system ish, where everybody gets to vote on who the criminal is, and if they get it correct, then the criminal dies and pays for their crimes, or if they get it wrong, then everybody else dies and the criminal goes free, which is a very drastic
That's
difference.
extreme. It's pretty damn extreme, if I do say so myself.
I mean, it kind of is like real life, except when the judge pronounces verdicts wrong, the judge and everybody in the courtroom doesn't die. But you know, it's a little like that, I guess.
That definitely puts the extreme in extreme court of justice.
True fact.
Yeah, and there's like little mini games and stuff. More so in the third edition. The first two games were pretty light on the mini games. It was pretty straightforward with just the dialogue, investigation, and the court scenes, which makes it interesting. But you know, it's definitely not for the light of heart. I will warn you.
Doesn't sound like it, no.
Nah.
I mean, it's not like you see guts spilled out and stuff like that. They don't really detail that stuff. It's typically just blood and, you know, bodies and stuff like that. You know, usually doesn't get super graphic with that kind of stuff, but it's definitely not for an easy read. It's definitely deeper, darker than most of the stuff. However, it's something worth investing in, as it's a long series now, as they've made 4 games, long games that like these are definitely longer than Phoenix Wright was. At least the games were for me. And there's a lot to do, because typically in Phoenix Wright there's like, you know, 4 or 5 cases per game, and in this there's usually 16 people, and one by one, slowly people die. Although sometimes there's more than one people that die. But, you know, typically there's, I want to say like maybe 7 to 8 trials or somewhere around there. It kind of varies a lot between the games. I don't remember. There's also, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you like anime, there is a series that is canon to the whole series itself. So if you don't watch the anime, you're going to miss out on a large chunk of the story.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunate. Yeah, it's a weird decision they decided to make with that, because they made 3 games, and they're like, you know what, let's take the story and bring it over in anime, and they did that, and then they made another game. So it was a lot of people did not appreciate that. Let me tell you, man, there was kind of a lot of not people like not liking that decision. But
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
yeah, and the third game in the series, if you want to jump right into that, don't. It's not a good idea. I mean, typically it's not a good idea, but it's best to play them in like chronological order, because the third game, like the intro video of the third game, basically spoils all the games and the anime right from the get-go.
Oh wow, okay.
Oh.
Like right in the opening sequence, it's just like bam, bam, this, and that, this, and you're just like, holy shit, spoilers! Oh my god.
That's nuts.
The other games and the anime didn't spoil anything else, but this game they're like, nope, F it, dude. You're gonna get all the reminders and all the spoilers in like the first 2 minutes of the game. So
That's wow.
I
I
take
can't
it
think
that
of anything that's like that. That's nuts.
I take it you got spoiled yourself.
no, unfortunately I'd seen everything, but like people
good.
were talking about in the comments section that you really don't want to play this because you're gonna get spoiled. I'm like, really? How could they possibly spoil that much in that short amount of time in the beginning of the game? And I launched it, and sure enough, they did. They really went balls deep for them spoilers real fast, man. I don't.
Jeez.
I like usually I don't see that kind of decision with games in a series. Usually they maybe will give light spoilers or a recap, but you know, they just went straight for the throat.
That's mental.
Yeah, but the guy who works or no, I should say the company, Spike Chunsoft, they're well known for these types of games and are known for having some violence integrated, but that was even a surprisingly drastic turn that I was not expecting. But like I said, it's fine if you play the other stuff. It's just like a big warning, you know, you don't want to play the third one unless you've played the first couple ones. I didn't get a chance to play the more FPS like game they had called Ultra Despair Girls, but the story in that is like not like super, it's like important to the plot, but it's not like, you know, it's not the end all be all if you miss it, you know. You can probably get a synopsis of that in like you know, a couple paragraphs or something. I guess not a lot happens in that from what I can remember. And the anime might be the same too, where it's like, well, not a lot happens, but you know, it's interesting to kind of watch and or play. So, but the first two games I definitely recommend though.
Hold on, that game you just mentioned, was it called Ultra Despair Girls?
Yes, it's called Ultra Despair Girls.
Okay. Right, that's a title that exists.
It's. I mean,
I have no comment.
Yeah,
No.
It's about one of the characters' sister, and like a friend of another character, like one of the major characters in the first game. Major character in the first game's sister, major character in the first game's friend, who both go out and try to kind of solve things outside the school, so to speak, that they all been trapped in, and a lot of things happen, and one of the characters also just happens to be a mass murderer as well.
Well,
So
of course.
Are they full of despair? At least.
But yeah, interesting series though. Definitely worth checking out as long as you like. Don't mind reading a little bit of voice acting. There's English voice actings for all the games that I can remember, but as usual, most English voice acting is a bit cringy, so it's up to you if you want to go down that route. I always tend to prefer Japanese and reading, because I like Japanese voice actors have always seemed to have more they act
Got more oomph to them.
They act better,
In,
typically. Like, where I feel like a lot of English voice actors will be, like, reading from a script, I feel like Japanese voice actors that I've seen will be more, like, in the character, in the moment, or in, you know, deeper than the English voice actors are. But, you know, that's just my opinion, which could also be terribly wrong. But most stuff that I've experienced, usually the Japanese voice actors are better, so...
Okay.
Yeah. That's
So
also
that's-
what I'm getting.
Also, what I've been playing.
Well, I know that I told you before the show that you shouldn't spoil the game too much because I want to play it myself, but I know that you have played Cuphead a little bit.
I did play that. I left that out intentionally because, like, I know you used to want to kind of have your experience with it, but to say the least, is fucking great. You need to buy it right now. Don't stop. No, don't even hesitate. Buy it now.
That's good. That's good. That's all I wanted to hear. I have like a couple of questions I want to ask you. That's not too spoilery.
Okay.
As a streamer who plays a lot of I Want to Be the Guy and I Want to Be the Guy fan games and just like bizarre, difficult games in general, how is the difficulty for you? Because I hear it's pretty difficult.
Okay, so I play it on regular, which is like the medium/normal mode of the game.
Okay, so there are different difficulties you can pick.
Yeah, you could at the start of the game you can pick from simple or regular, which is basically easy or normal, and then after you finish the game, you can pick expert if you so desire. So,
jeez.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a thing. But as far as for me, the platforming in the game is not really that difficult. Nothing that I've experienced with like I Want to Be the Guy. The platforming in that game is way harder. However, the bosses are pretty tough though. Some of them are. Some of them can be. It's like there are some bosses that are like pretty much like pattern based that. You know, pretty much every time you go into that boss, it's going to be somewhat similar to samey experience as before. Like, a good example would be there is a boss that involves a clown, which I don't like that much, but he pretty much does the same thing all throughout his fight. It's pretty predictable. So, even though some of the bosses may be annoying, the predictability kind of helps you smooth that kind of difficulty curve out eventually.
Okay, I see.
Have to learn. Some of the bosses have a lot of patterns, which makes it a little more difficult because then they'll unexpectedly do something like whoa, and then you kind of either have to react or die.
Right.
You only have 3 hit points, so you have to make sure you don't get hit too much. You really don't want to try not to make like dumb mistakes. But typically, most boss fights are not like a battle of attrition where you need to like really hold on to those hit points super hard because there's some other crazy stuff coming. Most of the boss fights are not long. I would say most boss fights don't take more than maybe up to, I don't know, 3 to 4 minutes, I would probably guess. 5 being like the absolute highest. But yeah, I liked it a lot because I'm all for like just doing like a game full of bosses, and that Cuphead is quite a bit of that. There's a lot of bosses in the game, you know. I'm sure you've seen probably some game trailers or gameplay videos where he's fighting bosses. That's typically most of what you're doing. There is some platforming stages as well, but the bosses are mostly the challenge of the game.
I see. Interesting. Cool. I can't wait to play it. It's going to be so much fun. I've been waiting for this game ever since it was teased along with the Xbox One console, I think. I mean, it's years ago. But it's just been delayed and delayed.
One thing that I found pretty neat about it too is that like for people who like to speedrun games and stuff like that, they do have like a shop where you can buy things to change about your character, but that is all that they do. They're just different things. You don't need to buy anything in the game, honestly. You don't have to. There's no health upgrades, there's no mana upgrades, there's no weapon upgrades, there's none of that.
Oh,
it's
that's
just
cool.
Whatever you buy is just going to change your style of play. And there are some things that I would say that are strictly like purely an enhancement, but that's like maybe 1 to 2 things. Everything has its kind of positives and negatives. Like the way they designed it is that everything has a good thing and a bad thing about it. There's only like maybe one thing that I can think of that doesn't really have, well, no, it does have a downside. Never mind. I guess everything has some kind of downside to the upside of it. Like, for example, in the beginning of the game, one of the first items you can buy is something that will increase your health. And you're like, oh, neat. I can buy this to increase my health. Well, if you buy that and you equip it, then it will also make your damage do less. So you have to kind of balance with, okay, I got more health, but now I'm going to have longer fights to deal with. So if I don't like the War of Attrition style. I don't like longer fights. For me, I'd rather deal more damage and risk getting hit versus having longer fights and having more of a buffer zone for getting hit.
Yeah.
So,
I get it. Huh.
So you'll have a lot of interesting things to kind of interchange with, and it will change like the style of how you want to go through the game. But like I said, it makes it easy for speedrunners, because essentially you could just go through the game and not buy a damn thing at all, and you could just do it. You could just do the game. That's it. There's nothing you have to grind or at all, or even get the items or anything. You could just go. That's it.
That's cool.
So
I really like that.
Yeah, it's very, very free with how you want to play it. You can basically almost choose whatever you want to do.
So, want to hear some bizarre and random games I've been playing recently? As always, I was about to add. Well, I went to a shop that dealt with like secondhand stuff, and on one of the shelves I found, in the box and everything, Guitar Hero on Tour for the Nintendo DS.
Well, shit. That's a thing.
That's definitely a thing. It included the weird grip and
That
everything.
thing always weirded me out. I felt like so. I was like, why do they make this?
Exactly. I mean, I've been a long and hardcore fan of Guitar Hero back in the day, so I was like, okay, and it was super cheap. I have to try this because I've seen it on the DS and everything, and like your reaction, I'm like, how does that even work? So so I got it, and I put the handle in and stuff. It is super uncomfortable.
I could imagine.
It's definitely one of the most bizarre gaming peripherals I've ever tried. I mean, instead of the normal guitar, which has 5 buttons and a strum bar, this has 4 buttons and a guitar pick, which you use to like swipe on the DS screen as you play. But I don't know if it's because I have like freakishly long fingers, but I can't hit the last button. I mean, I can do it, but it kind of hurts when I do it, and that's not very good.
They did a good job assembling the actual guitar then, because I always had the same problem even with the real guitar. My pinky could never, like, that 4th button was always for me. Or was it the 5th button? I can't remember.
5th, probably.
5th, probably. Okay, yeah. The last button was always, like, the hardest for me to hit, too.
Yeah.
So I guess that doesn't change.
But in case of this, I mean, like, you use your thumb to kind of hold the DS, and then the rest of the fingers go one for each button. So it's like, hey, that's super easy. I mean, in theory, it's super easy because I mean, there's just no the way that you have to be strapped to your DS this way. You can't really have a lot of strength in your pinky for the blue button, so it just makes it super awkward. So that was definitely interesting to try. But I mean, it's all redeemed because it includes All Star by Smash Mouth.
Hey!
10 out of 10.
Okay, that's all I need to know. That's all I need to know. Just that it has All Star.
I looked through the set list. I was like, it has All Star by Smash Mouth. Oh my god. Oh, that was definitely a surprise. I didn't see that one coming.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I probably won't play that too much. but I'm glad I bought it just to try it out of morbid curiosity.
Sounds like at least you're having fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. But then I played. I mean, recently I've just been like Sheesh. I'm getting close to 500 games on my Steam account. And there's so many here I haven't even touched. So
That's a lot of games.
yeah, I blame bundles for the most part.
Yeah, humble bundles like will inflate your Steam account hard and fast, dude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Ugh.
it's like a Trojan horse.
But they're so worth it. Like they had a Sakura bundle that has like all of the Sakura games, and it's just like hours of visual novels / porn, but not so much the porn.
As you do. Gotta have your porn.
Out of all the bundles that Humble Bundle has ever had, you mentioned the Sakura bundle.
How could I not? Dude, the quotes they had for each game were priceless. Oh my god, it was so funny. Like, I know they were partially doing it for, like, meme / silly purposes, but, I mean, there's, like, 10 to 12 Sakura games, and they included Honey Pop and Honey Cam Studio as well in that bundle, so...
That doesn't surprise me.
If you really needed, like, a fix on hot anime girls that you can do things to, then that was, like, your bundle, man.
That
for,
was
like, super cheap, also.
I mean, the one Humble Bundle that I ever felt I got the most value of was the Telltale Bundle. That included like the entire first season of The Walking Dead, and a lot of the older games too, Poker Night even. But I mean, for a ridiculous price, just to get some very cool story-based games. That's a bundle I remember I got the most value of anyway. But yeah, I went through my Steam library and saw a game called The Novelist, which is a weird narrative experience. I mean, it's a kind of a choose-your-own-adventure, but it's very short and narrow in that respect. Okay, I'm going to start at a different place. You play as sort of a ghost in a house that is getting inhabited by a new family over this course of a summer holiday. The dad is a writer who has to write a book. The mother is the mother who also wants to paint, and they have a son together who wants to have friends and socialize and get used to a new school and stuff like that. So every day, or not every day because it's like a month or two in between each session you play, they will have a wish, something that they want. And the way you find out what it is that they want is that you like look around the house and see what's written on different notes, stuff like that. And
That just sounds really cool.
yeah, it was. And then you can find them, and then you can go into their head and see a memory that happened recently, which is based on what they really wish. So after you have like searched through the entire house and seen the memory and stuff like that, you can read their thought, and they will say more specifically like, "Oh, if only this and that could happen."
Okay. I think I get the gist of it.
Yeah. So after you have done that with each family member, you can select one of their wishes, which will then come true in a way. So you go to that specific item in the house, and that will change into night then, where you can do one more thing if you did not get caught during the day, because you're a ghost. So there is sort of a stealth aspect to it as well, which is very interesting. So you can warp from light source to light source, so you don't get caught. But if they do if you do get caught, they will become scared or suspicious or something, and then you can't select that extra thing that will come true during the night.
Okay.
So that's where most of the gameplay, quote unquote, comes in. Because, I mean, for the most part, it's just like listen to what they want and then make one of the things happen. Because it has that stealth aspect, there's a bit more of a challenge in it, even though it didn't really prove, for me at least, to be that much of a challenge. It's like a 2 to 3 hour game, but it's not the greatest game of all time, absolutely. But I mean, it was thrilling enough for me to play through the whole thing. So yeah, I enjoyed my time, and there are multiple endings, of course, depending on what wishes you make true and whatnot. You're always trying to keep a balance so everyone in the family is happy. Because if you totally neglect the dad and his book writing, then it will affect him, and then he will get sad, and that's also because he's working on this project. There's also a lot of income based around that. So I was kind of like, okay, I need his book to succeed at least. But it's kind of like someone is always going to fail because you can only pick 2 out of 3. Oh yeah, and what's interesting is like you can get a lot of what the mother wants to do and the father wants to do through their written notes and letters, but the son doesn't have that. What he's doing, he makes drawings. So you can see. I noticed that like 3 days in a row or something, he would make the same drawing with where his father was happy. But then there was one wish where I neglected him, and then the following day I saw that he made a drawing where he was sad. So it's like, okay, I think I need to turn this around and do something for the son now.
Sounds like a fun game.
Yeah,
I
I liked it.
Pretty intriguing.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was pretty cool. So, yeah, that is what I have been playing recently. Noteworthy anyways. So I think we should move swiftly on to this show's entertaining segment, which is going to be another top 3. Woo! We haven't done those in a while. So the theme for this one is top 3 video game title themes. Woo! And by that, we mean the music that plays at the press start to play screen or main menu, whenever the title is first displayed when you open the game. That kind of stuff.
Not to be confused with the opening music or whatever that may be.
Yeah, I mean, there are some games, for instance, Smash Brothers, where some of the games there's just complete silence at the title screen, but then you go to the menu and there's super good music. So
yeah.
There are some games that does that. But before we begin, let's make stuff a bit more interesting, but try to guess at least one game from each other's top 3.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Ooh. I was about to say gossip, but then I thought that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, who wants to guess first?
I do.
Cool. What you guessing?
Okay. Okay, so I think for you, Cosmo, Undertale perhaps will probably be in there.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
And for Krakka, I'm gonna say, oh my gosh, hang on. I'm pretty sure there'll be something maybe Mega Man related? Maybe. I don't know. But just from like going down like favorite game lists that I've heard the two of you mention, yeah, I think possibly I'm on the right track. But those are my guesses.
I mean, it's definitely not a bad guess. Absolutely, I can see where you're coming from.
So yeah, those are my guesses.
I was going to guess Mega Man for Cracker 2.
Wah, wah.
But then it's like, okay, if I should think of something else, it can't be Ace Attorney because there's dead silence at the menu.
Yeah,
So-
it is.
So what else?
Damn.
What else could it be?
If only I could have had another reason to pick Phoenix Wright. Damn it.
Exactly. I know you have played some Zelda games. It's probably a long time ago, but I'm going to go bizarre out and say some Zelda game, one of another.
That's a good guess, actually. Because a lot of the Zelda games do have pretty good like main menus.
Exactly. So what are you guessing, Krakka?
Let's see. I think for Cosmo, I want to say he might bust out the Neverhood since it has like a personal place in his heart. Please tell me it's not silence at the menu screen because I didn't check.
Well, when you boot up the game, there's an intro sequence, like animated thing, and then it just goes straight into the game, so there's no main menu.
Oh, shoot.
But when you pause the game and have the menu there is dead silence. So
Okay, I guess that's not going to be a valid guess then.
well, you can
Yeah.
guess it, but it will be a bad guess.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to go the usual route and say Undertale then. That's what I'm going to go with.
2 on Undertale then. Jeez. What? I don't see how you guys could think this about.
Actually, you know what? No, you know what? Scratch Undertale. I totally forgot. I was going to say something earlier, and then my idea suddenly got lost when I started thinking of the Neverhood. But I was originally going to say you're probably going to pick something from Mass Erect. Is probably what you're going to pick something from.
Mass Erect.
Yeah.
You want to rephrase that?
Mass Effect.
There we go.
Yeah, that way at least there's something different at least, because I mean,
I guess it's only really the first game that has music in it. Anyway, this is dragging on for far too long.
Anyway, so yeah, so that's my guess for you, and then for Ice, I'm gonna probably say Skyrim.
Oh, that's a good guess.
I guess that's maybe. Maybe. I will not confirm or deny, but maybe.
I think I forgot to guess yours, Ice. Actually.
Oh, I think you did,
Yeah.
Cosmo.
I did. Okay. Then I'm going to say The Last of Us.
Also a valid guess. Okay, like I said with Skyrim, cannot confirm nor deny.
Interesting. That makes everything so much more interesting. Okay. So, let's start with you, Ice. What is your number 3?
Okay, so my number 3 favorite title, like menu music, is Dragon Age Inquisition.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Didn't
it
even
has
think of
this
that.
like, it has this like really cool like orchestral theme to it, and then during like a really like emotional moment where like it seems like all hope is lost for like your character and like all the other characters, they start singing the song "The Dawn Will Come," and like it starts with just like this chantry priest just singing it, and then Liliana joins in, then everyone else joins in, and it's like really, really epic. And that's the theme, but just like instrumental. Well, I guess like orchestral
cool.
instrumental, and it's really cool.
So,
I get the feels every time I hear it.
so up to that point, you've only heard the song instrumental.
Yeah, and you only
that's
hear
cool.
it once too. You only hear it once in the main menu.
That's
Other than
pretty
that,
cool.
You don't hear it at all up until that one point again, and it's like, oh, that was the main menu theme.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice twist.
So yeah, that's my number 3.
Cool. Nice. So, what about you, Krakka? What is your number 3?
Well, my number 3 is going to be, unsurprisingly, a Mega Man game. You both
Oh,
know.
shit!
Oh damn! Yeah, I've played too many
I
Mega
did
Man
it good.
games
I
to
did it
not
good.
like pick one of them. The hardest thing to do is to pick one of them, but I picked Mega Man 2 actually because I feel like it had the most like drastic title screen theme because they actually integrated part of the title screen theme into like the opening, but it skips ahead. Like if you press start in the opening, it'll skip ahead to like the good part of the title screen theme.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay.
But normally it starts off slow and then it's like, and then it just goes to a crescendo and you're just like, yeah, Mega Man. It makes you like
So
really
much.
want
It
to.
makes you nut. It makes you nut.
It makes you really want to play Mega Man. It's definitely what it makes you want to do, and also
also
maybe
that.
not.
There's something about Mega Man music that's so pumped, so energetic, and so hype.
Yeah. So that
Good
one
choice.
is my number 3 is Mega Man 2.
That's a good one.
Nice.
That's a good one. Alrighty. So my number 3 is World of Warcraft.
Ooh.
Ah, that's one of the ones that I thought about picking too, but it's just like I don't like it enough. It may be iconic,
I
I
feel
just
ya.
don't like
I
it
feel
enough.
So for anyone wondering, I am picking the title theme from Vanilla WoW, like the first World of Warcraft, and not any of the expansions.
Oh, okay.
Because they changed it a bit from game to game, or from expansion to expansion, I should say. I could go with the Burning Crusade one because it just adds a bit more to the original one, whereas the later one they just change it completely, I figured. But anyway, the World of Warcraft title theme for me is, I mean, it's just that thing that really gets you pumped as you're logging in and loading your character up, because it's so epic and very funny enough warlike. Because it starts off with these like heavy tones and war drums and all that kind of stuff. And
I
then
like the sound of it already.
it's so great. It's so great. And then they add strings to it and a bit more melody, and then it goes into this B section that's very, very beautiful, very, very magic-like, where it's like all the strings and harps and that kind of stuff. No drums in this section, just to really contrast to the rest. But it makes such a cool transition back to, like, it kind of builds up with more rhythmic parts added to it, and then it goes back to the main thing that we heard in the beginning with the war drums, but this time with more melody to it, and it all explodes like in a big thing with a choir and everything. It's so good. It's so good. I've heard it so many times, just sitting there listening to it over and over again.
Sounds nice.
Yeah.
So that is my number 3.
I actually remember it most of the time when I had to wait in queue. Like,
Yeah. Oh god, the good old days of Vanilla WoW where you had to wait ages to get in.
like on like Friday nights, everybody was playing. It's like you are like 4,000 in the queue. It's estimated time 30 minutes. I'm like, oh boy, I get to listen to this for 30 minutes. Let's go.
I can relate to that with the Overwatch queue system. I remember when Junkentown came out, and I was like, "You are the 2,400th person in the queue," and there's like
wow.
dead silence. So it's like, okay, my watch begins.
Wow. I've never had that in Overwatch, actually. I could just go straight in.
It's just because like Junkentown was just like really, really hyped up when it came
I
out.
see. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ice, what is your number 2?
Okay, now here's the thing with my number 2 and number 1. They're like tied for number 1. But
Oh.
yeah, so like it was very close. Either one of them could have been, the top one. But the number 2 is actually Life is Strange Before the Storm.
Oh,
Oh.
cool.
It has, so if you're familiar with like the Life is Strange games, it has a lot of like indie sort of alternative music, and it's like really mellow and emotional and stuff. And Before the Storm is no different. And so the opening theme, it has like these. It starts off with like so like this harmony sort of sound, and then it like brings in these like little guitar strums, and then it's just, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just the most peaceful thing ever to listen to. And
Nice.
I downloaded an hour-long version of it, and I just like have that in the background while I just do stuff, and
Oh, that's good.
it's the most relaxing thing ever. But yeah,
I'm glad they. I mean, it's also such an important thing for the Life is Strange universe as a whole to have that sort of music in it.
yeah, it's very like melodic. Like it's got like a really nice melody to it, and it's got some bass in the background, but it's not like heavy bass. It's just like very subtle, like subtle drums and bass in the background. That's not completely overwhelming to
Ah, interesting.
the actual instrumental itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it so much. I cannot like stress how peaceful it is to listen to.
That's
But yeah,
great.
it's probably one of my favorite things about the game itself, honestly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So that is my number 2.
Great, nice.
Hmm.
So, what about you, Cracker? What is your number 2?
Well,
Yes.
I kind of had to pick 2 for this one because 1 maybe doesn't apply, so I'd have a backup in case it doesn't, which it may not. But because it kind of is and isn't really a game, but it kind of is, and it has a main title theme, but it's kind of weird. But anyway, my choice is the Wii Shop channel music because
What? The Wii Shop channel music.
it's technically not really a game unless you consider shopping a game, I guess. But
The Game of Life or something? I don't know.
but it's an app on a game system, so it kind of maybe is a game that you can kind of play with money. I don't know.
I'm not sure how many times I've completed the Wii Shop channel. How many times I've died in the Wii Shop channel. How many times I got a game over.
I've gotten game overs in the Wii Shop channel before.
I guess a failure state is that you don't have enough money to buy what you want.
Yeah, that could be a game over.
Or no internet to actually get into the shopping part of it. Anyway.
Oh yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's for me. It's very impactful because like this was when I used to have a Wii. I don't have one anymore, but like I would always remember like going to the Wii Shop channel, usually to buy stuff, but sometimes I would just like, you know what, I need some nice chill music I want to listen to that's kind of catchy, and I would just turn on the Wii
Right?
Shop channel and just do stuff around the house, do some chores, and just Wii Shop channel in the background.
Literally what I do with the Life is Strange one, man. It's like, I feel you.
But on the verge that may not really count because this may or may not be a game. The other one that I have is the backup. That's probably actually maybe the real number 2. I don't know, but I just remembered it recently because I totally forgot about it. It's actually the main title theme for Professor Layton versus Phoenix Wright.
Oh, cool.
Because I forgot that it actually does have a title theme, unlike every other game.
An Ace Attorney game with a title theme? What world is this?
Like it has like, you know, it kind of takes a while to load the main title if you let it, and you can press start and you can go through or whatever and load your game, and it won't skip ahead the music, but it kind of is like a slow, very Professor Layton type of theme. Like it's very smooth and very stringy, I guess you could say. It's very nice, very pleasant theme. I actually, when I first started streaming, I let it sit there probably for like a minute and just kind of let it play through for people who are watching because it was so good. But
Oh, nice.
you know, I kind of maybe have hinted at that earlier when I said I'd be waxing poetic about that game later. So, but yeah, also to say that that game has incredible music as well, because the combination of those two series and their music, like they both have super good music, and like combining them and marrying them like the way they did, oh, a lot of the music in that game is just so fantastic. Oh my god.
Oh, sounds good.
But that's anyway. That's my number 2 Wii Shop channel / Professor Layton's versus Phoenix Wright.
Right. Okay. Cool. I mean, what I remember the most from the Wii Shop channel is the remix someone did with a song by Drake or something.
Oh yeah, that was probably from Silver Gunner, I bet.
It's so good. It fits so perfectly.
There's so many remixes of the Wii Shop channel. It's not even funny. Some are really memey. Some of them are actually really good. My favorite is still the one with the guy singing in the background. You know, you must shop now and stuff like that. It was like some guy speaking in German or something. It was pretty funny.
Cool. Alrighty. So, my number 2 is the number 2 in a gaming series, or gaming franchise, I should say.
Okay.
It is Jazz Jackrabbit 2.
Ooh.
I don't think I've heard
That's
of that.
an old one. That's an old game. I used to play that when I was a kiddo. But, I mean, it has all the things that games had back in the early 90s. Or at least in the 90s. I don't know when it was released, actually. But I think it must have been early. Anyway, point is, it's filled with, like, meaty synth. And it's so funky. Holy shit, it's the most funky sounding title theme I've ever heard. And it starts out with this dude saying, like, y'all ready for this? And I'm like, no, I'm not ready for this, because holy fuck is that good. I love that theme so much. It's so funky with like meaty piano and meaty saxophone, and that bass is so good. I cannot get over that. And it plays throughout the entire menu. It's not just the title screen.
Ooh, nice.
It's the whole thing, and I never grow tired of it. I can still to this day just like hear it over and over again. It's so good.
Nice pick.
And funny thing is, if anyone wants to play it, it is free on the internet because it's abandonware now.
Oh, okay.
So it can play on most systems. I haven't checked if it can play on Mac, but it can definitely play on Windows 10. Just search like Just Jackrabbit 2 abandonware and you can download it. So here's a shout out to anyone who want to play it, and it's highly recommended. If you like Sonic, I felt like when I played it again, it was like, yeah, this got inspired by Sonic. I feel, but with a gun and you're a rabbit. So there you go. That is my number 2, Just Jackrabbit 2.
I was not expecting the gun and rabbit part, I will admit.
Yeah, the main villain is a turtle.
Oh, I see the direction.
Right,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So, what is your number 1, Icewire?
So one of you did guess correctly. And
Who was
my number 1 is The Last of Us.
Damn.
Hey,
Boo. Boo. Boo.
But yeah, the main menu music interlude, it's it's so like it gets you sort of set up for what's a bit, the story that's gonna take place. I mean, because the music overall is pretty similar, but it has like certain emotions to it, and it's at this point the music is like really iconic, and the composer for The Last of Us. I can't quite remember his name. I think it's Gustavo Santaolalla. Well, he's a genius. I love his music to bits. And he did just such a bloody good job on just the menu theme alone. I think I think even that's like my favorite piece of music in the game overall.
Oh, nice.
It's got like really nice like guitar strumming and like there's different types. I know there's like different types of instruments that are like similar to guitars, but I can't remember them for the life of me. But
Right.
it's like just got different sort of tones to it, and it just works really, really well.
Nice.
Then that helps that The Last of Us is one of my favorite games like ever. So yeah, that is my number one.
Excellent. I
Well
still
done to
haven't played
Cosmo
it.
for guessing it.
Cool.
It's so good, man. It's so good.
Yeah, the thing is, I have it on PlayStation 3, and I do want to get a PlayStation 4 at one point, and I know the remaster on PlayStation 4 is a lot better. I mean, it runs in 60 FPS instead of 30.
Yeah.
That
And
kind
it
of
has
stuff.
the DLC with it as well.
Ah, that's also
free.
a selling point. Yeah. Anyway, Krakka, what is your number one?
Well, funny enough, it is actually from an MMO, just like your number 3 was. But this was an MMO that was more of something that I cherish, probably even more than WoW, and probably even more than Final Fantasy 14. Yeah, because I played this a lot when I was younger. I still sometimes get the urge to play it now too. I'm always tempted to re-download it, but anyway,
I have a guess now. But I'm probably wrong.
it started out as a lovely Dreamcast game. Man, how I miss my Dreamcast still to this day. I miss that thing.
Aw.
But it's a game known as Phantasy Star Online.
I've heard that title before, definitely.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I think might be before my time.
Phantasy Star had a few games like on the Genesis stuff, and it started out as an RPG series, but later on down the line, Sega decided they were going to make an online game out of it, and they made Phantasy Star Online for the Dreamcast at first, and then when the Dreamcast died, they eventually brought it back to the GameCube.
Yeah, I remember that. That's what I remember. I didn't know it was in Dreamcast first.
Yeah, it was episode 1 was on the Dreamcast, and then the GameCube had episode 1 and 2. I don't think they brought episode 2 to the Dreamcast. I think that was something they added later, which is kind of important to like the MMO story. You know, it actually did have a pretty decent story for what it was, ish. Anyway, probably not as like concrete as like WoW is to this point, because WoW has like had so many expansions. I would hope they have their story figured out by now. But yeah, the main theme is just like it's kind of like got that kind of sci-fi kind of futuristic vibe to it, which is very much the game itself. It is very sci-fi and futuristic kind of game, because you're on a giant, like basically humanity has moved on a giant flippin' spaceship, and they're trying to find another hospitable planet because something happened to Earth. I think either it got destroyed or we killed it or something like that. Something happened to the Earth. Anyway,
Yeah.
they were looking for another place to live, and they came upon a place called Regal, which a lot of shit goes down basically. But I played that for so long. I played that for so many years, and I even played a little bit on the GameCube. And I actually, I think about a year ago, I downloaded the more recent iteration, Phantasy Star Online 2, which is only Japan. They still won't bring it in the US. I'm still angry about it every day. Like, I really want it to be here, because currently there's a team of people, at least that I remember, that's running like a patch for PSO2, so that way you can play it in English on the Japanese servers. You know,
wow.
and usually they don't care about it because it's a subscription game, just like WoW is. So if you pay for it, they're not real adamant about throwing you off the server unless you cause a bunch of trouble. So typically it's pretty safe, even if you're speaking English and playing on the Japanese servers. But anyway, so yeah, like that for me, like just going to that title screen every time I started that game up, just it always stuck in my mind, and it was always something that like I would sometimes sit there and just kind of like just bask in, because it's like another kind of like smooth to like getting like more exciting as you kind of sit there and listen to it, but it's a very like gradual thing, and there was pretty decent music in the game, and it just always was pretty memorable for me. So it's not maybe necessarily that it's like the best game with the best title music, but it's like for me is the most personal and best to me, I guess you could say. So
Okay.
yeah, so that be my number one would be Phantasy Star Online.
Nice.
Cool. Okay. So my number one is a game I have talked about before.
Uh-huh.
Also praised its music before.
Uh-huh.
However, I'm sad to say it's not Undertale.
Aww.
I thought this was there's going, darn.
It is a game very close to my heart, and it is Pokemon Ruby.
Wow.
I would never have guessed that. Holy
Didn't
shit.
expect that, yeah.
I mean, I've already praised the music like endlessly when we did the top 5 of like soundtracks in general, but there is something extremely magical about the title theme to Pokemon Ruby. It's probably the title theme I've heard the most over and over again, and sometimes when I wanted to play it, I would just like, let the music play all the way through and just sit there for a couple of minutes just to hear the whole thing. It's very hard to describe without just sounding like I'm repeating myself, but it's like
Yeah.
it's made for the Game Boy Advance, so of course they couldn't have like the giant orchestra that the music is trying to emulate, but still that step that they took to try to emulate it is so, it sounds so good. It's hard for me to describe, really. It's very powerful, very energetic, and there's all these details in it, and it's like only on a 16-bit sound system.
Wow.
I mean, they have like, there's so many details in it, and when I hear title themes from other Pokemon games, it's just not the same level of detail as this one, I feel. I mean, of course, in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, it's the same tune, and they try to do the same thing. For me, it's never the original. Maybe it's because of the limitations of the 16-bit that's used to create the sound in this game that it just sounds so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Not
get
entirely sure, but bottom line, I mean, and I've heard some remixes too. I mean, I have Pokemon Box for the GameCube, which allows you to play the GBA games on your TV if you want. And transfer your Pokemon from those games to the GameCube, so you can store like 1,000 Pokemon or something like that. But yeah, when that boots up, it's the same theme, but this time it's on GameCube, so it's that rendition of it. And I remember when I was trying to do some test recording, and that just played like 15 times or so while I was doing it. I'm like, I don't mind this. I'm perfectly fine because I love this tune. So yeah, whenever I boot up Pokemon Ruby, it's always a pleasure to get greeted by this title theme. So that is why Pokemon Ruby is on my number one.
And that's pretty much all our number ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we were good picks.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would never have guessed Phantasy Star Online, at least.
Never.
I always try to keep my stuff interesting.
I do have a short list of honorable mentions. And, of course, one of those is Undertale. No doubt about it.
Duh.
I really like it in Undertale because it changes as you get through the game. At least with the pacifist route, more gets added to it, and that's such a cool detail. I don't think I've seen that in any other game. Come to think of it,
I can't think of any.
No.
That like change depending on like which like play style you go through.
Exactly. Katamari Damacy, I want to name.
Oh yes, dude, yes. That game has some fantastic music, and the menu theme is actually really good at that too.
Yeah. It's funny when I opened my document here and I saw the honorable mention, I saw Katamari Damacy, it instantly got stuck to my brain. I just read the name and I'm like da 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 da.
Yeah.
Unstoppable.
I think for me, one of my honorable mentions is Skyrim.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's epic.
Because you don't really need an explanation for that because the orchestra is epic as hell.
Mm-hmm.
But another honorable mention is probably, this is a random one, but it's the main menu theme for The Sims 2 Pets.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bizarre one.
Yeah, it's just, it's so like bouncy and bubbly and like really, really happy. And, like, it makes me do a little jig every time I hear it. And it's, I rediscovered it recently. And yeah, just lots of happy squeals and eternal screaming.
Nice.
I didn't know the expansions had different themes.
I didn't either.
Yeah, some do, some... Actually, no, they all do. Yeah, they all do. At least back in the day they did.
Cool.
Well, I guess then I will say my honorable mentions, which I did not write down, and they just came to me as I was thinking about things. So I guess that counts. No, actually, I thought of one earlier because I was thinking about the Zelda stuff, and I'm trying to think. Oh man, there was a Zelda game that had a pretty impactful theme. I'm trying to think what it was, and then I remembered it was Link to the Past, the Super NES. Man, when that thing started up, and
absolutely.
the sword came off screen, and the music starts. You're just like, oh yeah, you're ready to play some friggin' Zelda, dude. You're ready as soon as that sword hits the title screen, and the music just starts up. It's very, very awesome how they had that kind of synchronized. I don't think there's too many games that like have like a thing or something on the title screen that will do something and then the music starts. That's it's always something exciting to have. The other one I was thinking of too was as many RPGs I've played, surprisingly Earthbound's title screen theme actually stuck with me a lot because it was different. It was different in its time period.
That game is so bizarre for its time.
Yeah, I'm surprised to this day they even brought it here because it's just a very bizarre game, totally in general. Even like, I'm trying to think. Mother 2, and it was also bizarre. They're all pretty. The Mother series in general is bizarre. So, Earthbound, which you may have better known it as, also if you don't know what, if you're not familiar with Mother. Earthbound is what they brought it over here as, and it was like a weird, just from total left field, that game when it came out. I was super intrigued by the size of the box that when I saw it in stores, I was like, oh dang, dude, this thing's got a huge box and it's got this weird dude on the front, and I'm like, it comes with a player's guide. This is my game right here. That was the only game that I ever known that has ever released with the player's guide, like built into the game box. Also, there are not too many games that really did that. That's why the box was so big, because they had the player's guide in there.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, they included the player's guide with the game, which is probably a good reason that they did, because I don't know, some of the older RPGs were pretty easy to get lost in and totally forget what you're doing or trying to do, and it had some pretty funny typos in there too. Like there was supposed to be like a zombie professor or something, ended up being like zombie processor in the guide, and people made fun of that for a while.
Zombie processor.
and a very very small slight runner up to the Play Online launcher from Final Fantasy XI, as that title screen of that app or whatever just stuck in my head a lot too from playing Final Fantasy XI so much. It actually has a pretty good theme, but it's just like with WoW. It's like you wanted to hear the theme in the moment, not when you're waiting in queue, not when you're taking 5 hours to download an update.
Yeah.
You know.
I know those feels.
So those are my little runner-ups.
I had a couple of more. I had The Wind Waker, another Zelda game. The first Rayman, so good too. And I also wrote Overwatch, actually.
Yeah, Overwatch was one for me too, actually. Yeah.
I mean, it really sets the mood for like the battle of the heroes, pretty much.
Yeah, I always sort of like hum along as well when you hear it.
Oh
So
yeah.
You just sit there like a dummy going dan 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 dan. You know. That's like my pre-game ritual.
Nice. It is very recognizable. So it does its job pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you got here through a misclick, we hope that this turned out to be a happy little mistake for you.
Should we
Yeah.
link all the pics that we
I was
did
thinking that.
down below?
I was thinking that, yeah. Maybe link to a playlist or something where they're all there.
I'll have to drum this up. But yeah, I can do that.
Should be easy enough. I mean, we have them here on paper, so
Yeah.
find the links.
Yeah, easy peasy.
So everyone will get some nice music to listen to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I am Cosmironic. You can find me on Twitter if you like. Where can we find you, Icewire?
You can find me at Icewire was taken because my username is always taken. And you can also find me on Instagram at ice_wire. But
Ooh,
basically,
underscore.
Yeah, yeah. The ice wire was ironically taken.
No.
Yeah.
When I first heard your name, I could have sworn that it was not the fact that you were
It was
couldn't
like a
get
cry
your
reference.
but that it was like that you've been stolen, like you've been actually taken, like somebody took you, somebody kidnapped you or
What?
something.
That's bizarre. Okay.
Okay.
It may have been because of that. The movie Taken, honestly, is probably what convinced me of that.
Ah.
With good old Liam Neeson, man, his movies are something else.
True fact. So yeah, that's where you can find me at.
All right. Where are you at, Krakker?
You can find me on Twitch or Twitter with, the usual at KrakkaCafe or /KrakkaCafe. And or you can, I'm always on Discord with the same name as well, so find me there if you really want to.
Sweet. And that is the three of us. We are the Misclick Podcast, and you are a great listener. Thanks for now. Goodbye.
Bye.